Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome back to our watch club for Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. Enjoy the now, baby. It's the only thing that's certain. Welcome back to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Witch Club for Agatha All Along, Episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side, directed by Ganja Montero. If you're joining us for the first time, well, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general, so if you haven't watched this week's episode yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, before we all pitch a tent or get covered in mud, sounds like a good time, let me introduce you to the lovely coven joining me down the road this evening. First up, he's a journeyman journalist whose bad juju will put a jinx on you. He's Justin, the Jack-o'-lantern loathing Lawrence.
What is up, witches? I am stoked to talk about this episode. So many answers to burning questions that we've had for so long.
Yeah.
It all feels answered, but then there's more questions. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
We lost you last week. We couldn't find you. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
Did you get sucked into the mud?
No, I think I had something work related to do. Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah, I had
That's more
had a
lame.
photo shoot. I had a photo shoot
okay.
to do. Yeah, so I guess it was like some sort of mud-eating monster that consumed me.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that. We'll stay on course with that.
And leaving my bar mitzvah early, she's my aura from another morer. She's Megan, the magical, mystical Maximoff morning charm chanting Chambers.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. This is maybe my favorite episode so far.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited.
Cool.
It's
We got a lot to
bonerific,
talk about.
that's for sure.
It is bonerific.
Definitely bonerific. You know what? I don't even have a transition from what you just said there. So finally, in the stillness of this starless night, I'm summoning someone, a spectral form so salacious she can only be described as an agent of Mephisto. I mean fandom. She's cool, she's kooky, and she's altogether spooky. She's Sydney, the spectacularly spellbinding Scarlet Sorceress Supreme Stefanis.
That was everything.
How you doing?
That was everything. I couldn't have asked for a better introduction. I love that.
You know, you gave me the double S name, and I was like, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad that your parents had the wherewithal to know. They probably had some sort of vision that you were going to be on this podcast, and I like to do alliteration.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, that's exactly.
it.
I can see that. I can totally see it.
Sydney, welcome to Watch Club. Who are you? How are you doing? And how are you enjoying the show so far?
I am Wanda's #1 fan. I love WandaVision so much. This is totally my jam. I'm loving the show so much. You've seen me on Twitter every week freaking out right at 9:30, 10 o'clock, freaking out over these episodes. I'm obsessed. I'm loving it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I've always enjoyed sort of seeing your opinions posting, and we've kind of, I think we've crossed paths before knowing each other and getting to know each other a little bit more by going to different conventions and whatnot. But I still remember, like, I think we've seen movies together without realizing we've seen movies together.
Yes.
Something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think our first year that we did Fan Expo as press, you were also there as a VIP, and we had
Yes.
cross paths we hadn't seen each other, or maybe we saw each other from a distance, and we were like chatting through messages and like
Yes.
our experience of waiting in lines and the panels and stuff like that. So it's been great over the year to kind of get more connected and see you at these conventions and share some thoughts. And yeah, you got some great takes on some not just Wanda stuff, a lot of other things that we like to cover as well, given obviously the kind of coverage you do with Agents of Fandom as well.
Yeah. Thank you. I know. I'm so excited to be on here. I love hearing all of your podcasts. I've been following week by week everything you guys are talking about on here. It's awesome.
Appreciate
Awesome.
that.
Thanks, man.
It's
Very
great.
cool. Cool. Well, listen, we've got a lot to talk about for this episode. It certainly did not let us down. I think there were, there is some stuff that a lot of us anticipated and had feelings about going into it.
But I will say
maybe
a lot
like
of it
full blown predicted. I'm sorry, but
well, some of it, I also feel like a lot of it was just debunked in this episode. Like anything we really had in terms of predictions was just like big ones. There's still some that are left on the table, but some big ones are like thrown out the window, and we'll probably go through it. We'll go through it as we break down the episode. But I that's what I like, is that, like, we even with everything that we do and the stuff that we, obviously the content that we digest, where people are theorizing about ongoing stuff, an episode can come along and just debunk everything, you know what I mean, and just get rid of all of it. So, and then that's what's fun about it. So, we've gotten some answers to things, and there looks like there's some new pieces to play with for future ideas, which is exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, even though there was some stuff that was predicted, there definitely were some surprises, like a boner that pops up out of nowhere. But let's get to this episode titled "Familiar by Thy Side," directed by Ganja Montero. After a recap focusing on Teen and his sigil and his past, we start off in the Eastview Synagogue, where we see a ceremony for the magic mitzvah of William Kaplan. William and his proud parents follow behind him as he walks towards the pulpit to read from the Torah. As the dance music fades in, we cut to see Jeff and Rebecca Kaplan expressing just how proud they are and how much they love their son. After some partying, William curiously walks into a small tent away from the dance floor. He's greeted none other by Lilia, who asks him if they're looking behind them or ahead. She explains that a long journey full of great transformation is ahead of him, and that his lifeline is broken in two. Lilia seems worried, but then tries to calm William down by saying he's becoming a man. She also says the tower reversed out of nowhere. William, now slightly uncomfortable, hastily says he needs to get back to the party, and Lilia tells him he's a good egg and to enjoy the now. She then crafts a sigil and places it inside his forgotten suit jacket. She hands the jacket to a nearby woman who looks like maybe she's kind of like running. She's wearing like a suit jacket herself, so I think she may be like the coordinator or whatever, event coordinator. And then she's like, "Well, who does this belong to?" And Lilia says she doesn't remember. So let's start off here. We have finally confirmation that it was Lilia who placed the sigil on that there boy. Sydney, what do you think this means? And, do you think she can remember? She's choosing not to say, or is this the sigil in effect already?
I think there's definitely something going on there. I watched the episode for a second time, and I really watched her, and there's just that moment of when she's putting it in the pocket and she switches, that there's something else going on there, I think. Yeah,
it's very clear that she's... Like, to me, I was almost wondering if she's being controlled. Did you get that idea as well? Like, yes, do we think there's someone's pulling the strings here?
There's a vibe of that, but given her history with how in and out of things that she goes into, it's interesting how fast it happens in this situation. So I guess we'll see how it unravels. But I think it could be a little bit of like, maybe the sigil is working, like, like after, and good on whoever that woman was finding, William and getting him his jacket. Because I was like, how the hell is he going to get this jacket back? But it found its way. And like, I don't know, maybe again, that's just part of the sigil, right?
Right.
But, it feels like there could be something afoot. So, again, another question left on the table here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of, again, the conversations we've had about divination witches, and how when prophecies are predicted, the person predicting those prophecies doesn't know. They're just like the body or the vessel for that prophecy. So they're unaware of how they're doing this or what they're saying. So I think she knows that she put the vigil on him, and she knows what she did there, but the comments on saying your life is split in two and all that kind of stuff just kind of comes from a prophecy. I don't think she's aware that she's telling him this stuff. So there's, like Justin said, it's a little bit of both, and it seems very strange.
Well, and I think the fact that it was Lilia specifically, I think, is going to play a lot into hopefully what we get out of next week's episode. I also think it was really lovely to sort of see William Kaplan's life a little bit before obviously what happens in this episode, and to see that his bar mitzvah was magic themed, and specifically magic with a K, with like sort of leaning into more witchcraft magic as opposed to the traditional magic with a C that's more maybe a little bit more like sleight of hand, entertainment based magic, right? And then I also thought great to see Paul Adelstein in this show. I recognized him from Prison Break. And he's in a very different role here that he was in Prison Break.
I hope so.
It's lovely to see more like loving parents in the
MCU,
right? So it's
No
like, I think with there's a few of them, but it's great to see that William, at least for the 13 years that he was alive, had some lovely parents. And then in terms of there's another thing Lilia says that I wanted to call out, which I think we all heard very specifically, which is the tower reversed. Now, at first I was wondering, because listen, we're Sydney, just like yourself, we're so like big on like Wanda. We always got Wanda on the brain. We just so much so that I think it kind of, at least threw me for a loop a little bit with where this episode goes, which we will get to. But immediately I heard the tower reversed, and I think, oh, so the tower the Wondergore that fell on her, it's reversed. The Darkhold is going to be no longer destroyed. All that's going to be reversed. And then I did a little bit of tarot card studying, and apparently, whether upright or reversed, ultimately the tower is about breaking down to rebuild. A storm that cleanses and forces growth. Reversed, it leans towards inner conflict and delayed change, but the message is still clear. Growth comes through embracing the shakeup, not avoiding it. And I think this is actually really perfect for the journey of Billy, but it's also for William at 13 years old. He's becoming a man.
Yeah.
And I know that Billy is gay. We know this. I also think that William Kaplan was gay as well, and I feel as though it only adds to the sadness of sort of this 13-year-old that's sort of maybe searching for answers in how to potentially, if he had, like, I don't think he had come out at that point potentially, and I'm wondering if maybe that tarot card was in not only reference to obviously what Billy goes through, but also what William could have gone through had he not died. Yeah.
So did she pull out a tarot card and say the
no?
tower
She just
reversed?
called it out. She just called it out.
Oh, because I took that as what's going to happen next week's episode.
Okay.
Because there's that scene that you see in the trailer where the swords are falling, and the whole building is shifting, and they're all like in this like sort of like floating state. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if she's again foreseeing something in the future, and just kind of regurgitating it now.
Yeah. I mean, it also is interesting to think about what Darcy said last week, where all these little blips of things that she's said connect with something else that she said in a previous episode. So it's almost like we have to write a list and like pair them up so you can find out what this means. So maybe the tower is reversed is connected to something else that she will say in the future, or maybe has already said. I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me, but
I'm interested to see. When I heard that line though, that's immediately what I thought, because again, as you were saying, so many people were connecting all of those other sort of random thoughts and tangents to events that have already happened or foreshadowed events that have already happened in the show. And so I thought, the tower reversing, it looks like they're going to be in some sort of tower in that scene, sort of maybe locked up as witches, as what I'm imagining. They're in some sort of a prison, and I feel like that's going to kind of play into why we see them all like floating. And there's that great moment in the trailer where they're just all floating in the air and looks like the space is spinning. And so I wonder if that kind of plays into it's part of the trial of, trying to figure out how to get out of there. So yeah, it's again, she's just throwing us for a curveball. Like she's messing things up.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Lilia's trial specifically, because I'm a huge fan of Lost. Shout out to my Losties out there. Sydney, you a Lostie?
I'm not, no.
Not yet.
No,
you mean.
not yet.
Not
Right.
yet.
yet.
I just
Still
read
time.
your future. I know
Okay.
you're gonna watch
Yeah.
it. You're gonna love it.
Okay,
But
I will.
but but specifically, I feel like Lily is gonna kind of be that sort of Desmond, like sort of character out of time sort
Yes.
of idea.
Yeah, I can see
and
that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
We're snapping back and
100%.
forth.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going here. Suddenly, Jeff makes an announcement regarding the Westview anomaly and tells everyone to get home as quickly and as safe as possible, which obviously causes everyone to go into a big panic, and they all rush out of the bar mitzvah. Well, on the road, Jeff frustratedly slams his hand on the radio as it's acting strange, and he's unable to get any information as to what's going on. In the back of the car, William finds the sigil placed on him, and as he looks up, he sees the hex starting to shrink. This distracts everyone in the car, including his mom, Rebecca, who, after William screams, has to swerve to avoid an oncoming truck. The car swerves off the road and slams incredibly hard into a nearby tree. While both his parents are just dazed, William is bleeding and unconscious in the back. Jeff flags down a police vehicle, and while both his parents are outside the car, we hear, "Good night, Tommy. Good night, Billy." And William wakes up shouting Tommy's name, or at least we thought it was William. And then Officer Alice Wu rushes in to let them know an ambulance is on the way. In the emergency ward, Billy looks at himself in a mirror, scared and confused. Okay, so what happened here, Sydney? Why do you think Alice can't remember this situation? And do you think that William Kaplan is truly dead?
This is really interesting. Alice, I think, is the one that I can't figure out. Like, I did watch the episode twice, and I still don't really understand why she wouldn't remember. I'm interested to get into that and hear what you guys think, because I don't really know. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the sigil. If the
Yeah,
sigil
that could
has
be
something
it.
to do with it. It's
Face
protecting
blindness. She also
sure.
probably has seen but I mean the sigil's causing face blindness.
Yeah,
she
yeah.
does, she
Well, no, like-
face blindness.
No, I know,
But I
of
mean,
course.
like
Yeah.
she's probably seen a ton of these situations as a cop, so
Yep.
maybe those
Right.
years in her life have kind of mushed together.
Sure. Or maybe
know.
maybe since the sigil's active, it wipes the brain. Like maybe what we saw in the scene before with Lilia is very much an example of how it happens. There's an interaction, and then it just wipes from their minds. And maybe that is the sigil working. Maybe that's how it works, because it doesn't explain how none of them remember, and how she was the one to say someone put a sigil on that boy.
Yeah.
Right. But she was the one who did it. So clearly she doesn't remember it, and it's been wiped from her mind. So I think that there might be some of that going on, but it is interesting to see that there were touch points here before we got to obviously the Coven and down the witch's
Yeah,
road.
it's
It-
cool to
it's-
see them all having been interacted with
Yeah.
without knowing.
Yeah,
In
and
different ways.
Yeah, and then we'll see later. Obviously, he sees like a video with Jen.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just funny because like he does know about her YouTube life and her life as a content creator and influencer, and calls her out and be like, you need this, right? Because you're in legal problems, right? Because of your product, right? Cause
Oh
he's been
yeah, and I mean
following
if
it.
you
he's
even
he's
hit
talking
her
from
view
a fan,
count,
though.
I think is like
Exactly,
super
yeah.
small and whatever, right? He,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
not super small. Our view counts are super big. Don't worry about that. But no, I think her business. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She's struggling.
She
a bit
was
with
floundering, but I think it comes not from like this idea of like him being smarter. It's like because he's a fan of hers. And
Yeah.
he knows her business, because everyone would know your business when you're like a content creator like that. Probably, he's using that to his advantage in that situation in episode 1. But yeah, like, is William Kaplan dead? I think so. I think he 100% is. I think that whole moment of like a breath before we start getting into these, auditory elements of Billy and Tommy, and then it kind of swoops in and consumes him. The pulse, the heartbeat is really predominant. I think it's very much to signify a new life entering his body, and it is extremely sad given the case and circumstances. But so is the story needs to go on. You know what I mean? Like it's unfortunate, right? But it makes sense, and I feel like, to the credit of Billy not fully understanding his powers, I think there was something that reached out to him and that he reached out to and saw and they was able to meld. I'm sure our comic geeks know more about this stuff, like Darcy, and he would probably be able to relate to saying like that's very much how it would have gone down.
I think he essentially predicted this moment last week.
Yeah.
He basically said there's a storyline in the comics where Billy's soul ends up in somebody else's body. And
exactly. So like again, the circumstances of how that happens in the comic books versus here is obviously different. But the idea that his body has been taken over by the soul, because they weren't necessarily like Billy and Tommy weren't necessarily real. They were made of magic.
Yep.
Right. And imagined to be real. But whatever was left of that magic has found a place and a vessel to live on, and that is William Kaplan. Right?
And it's like they replaced a body that was now at this point no longer going to be used, which is what I think confirms that William Kaplan has passed. That magic found a body that would have gone to waste, I guess. So I'm intrigued to see where the other little bit of magic went.
Me too.
But I also think with, we talked a lot about Rio and her potential role as the character Death. And, it stands to reason to see, like, what does she think of all this, right? Like, we haven't gotten to see her for, at the end of last week's episode and all of this week's episode. So what does she think of what Billy did? We know that in... Multiverse of Madness, which isn't Megan's favorite movie, but we know that it apparently, like, getting into a dead body or whatever, or possessing a dead body is breaking the rules, and even
it's
Agatha
dark
actually
magic,
calls out breaking the rules. So it is interesting to sort of see how that is going to affect Rio, how that's going to affect Billy. But I do want to just quickly send it to Megan. The lines on the radio. I mean, I'm pretty sure your heart might have exploded when you heard my wife and her flying saucers and my husband and his indestructible head, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first episode of WandaVision, is it not?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure is. Yeah, I was going to say, Sid definitely freaked out about that moment, too. I bet.
Yeah. I, watched it again. Had to watch it again, turn up the volume. I was like, no way.
Yeah, I didn't catch it. I didn't catch it the first time. I had to rewind it and play it back. But what was cool is that the radio was the vessel of how we heard that. Because I think it was in WandaVision, Darcy uses that, like, sonar thing to tap into what's happening into the Hex and to see that episode. Like, to see, like, they use radio frequency to tap into the Hex, correct?
And,
yeah, I was trying to jog my memory
I'm going to forget his name, but the
Randall?
officer.
Randall? Officer
Yeah, Randall. He used a radio to try and connect to Wanda, and that was what she heard through. It was like, Wanda.
Right. So that's why it's coming through the radio, too.
Yeah.
Right? So that's cool that they've kept that, that continuity as to what's happening, right? And it sounded like probably because of everything that was getting, like, squished down, right? Because I'm assuming we all think that this is at the end.
Yes.
When Agatha and so on and so forth are having, and Wanda are having their fight over Westview. So... based on those, as things were happening, it's probably spilling out, and it's just a mushed up mess. It's not as concise, right?
It's not like a linear timeline for them, because I think it has to do with their proximity, right? They're in Eastview, and so maybe because they're further away. I don't know if this is how radio waves work. They're further away.
Radio waves are pretty strong, man. They're pretty strong.
But maybe that first episode got to them a little bit later. Disney Plus didn't launch Justin on the same day as it did for us.
I think it's just a jarbled mess of what is on the wavelength, right? It's not. It doesn't have any continuity. You probably need the devices and the know-how that Sword had and that Darcy had to kind of understand and tap into it. But if you're just driving, you're just going to hear this random stuff. You're not going to know what it is.
Well, and I'm wondering, because it was during the moment that the Hex was closing, I think that had he let the radio continue to play, it probably would have done a mashup of every single episode and, like, big moments in every episode, because it was closing. So the entire thing was going through Wanda's head and what she had been through and her kids and all that kind of stuff. She was being reminded of all of it. So I think maybe that's why the radio went with the very first episode. And we maybe would have heard some more if he continued to listen.
did Billy's soul manage to find him only because he had heard in that moment his parents' voice? I don't know.
Or he was just the closest dead body.
I think it's pure luck, though. Like, I think the other thing
Mm-hmm.
too is about it's luck. You know, it's like, again, unfortunate circumstance for William Kaplan, but at that time when Billy's soul is being pushed out and that magic is being released, his magic was strong enough that it clung to the next viable form of life, and he in a lot of ways saved that body, right? He didn't save Kaplan because he's now assumed his identity, but you know, again, I think it's just a freak accident, and I think that's just a testament to how powerful Billy is.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see if we ever get to see Jeff and Rebecca again in this show or in the MCU in general, because, you know, they're parents, and I feel like parents usually can, even if their son is a spirit from a from a sorceress or from a Scarlet Witch and has inhabited, like, they can tell that something's been different about their son ever since the crash. And I just wonder if there's going to be some sort of semblance of them having to go through accepting the fact that no, their son died back
Is
then.
gone. Exactly.
Gone 3 or however many years until we get to see him again. So,
and some conversation like that is going to have to happen with Billy leading it.
It's
right?
heartbreaking.
Like Billy saying, like, you know, your son is no longer around, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay, well, let's keep
sad.
going here. In the hospital room, Billy starts to hear the thoughts between his mom and dad. Billy gets out of the hospital, and his parents take him back home. By the way, throughout this breakdown, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between saying Billy and William. Whatever, it's the same thing. Once home, his dog Greg, by the way, who
Amazing
names
name for a dog.
dog Greg. Dog Greg. His dog Greg doesn't remember him, and he yells at his parents to stop worrying. Billy does, not the dog Greg. He asks to go up to see his room alone, and then we get to his room and we see a number of board games and figurines on a shelf. Looks like my room, and a ton of posters featuring various witches and magic-related movies all over his walls. He picks up a photo of him and his family from a recent vacation, or William and his family from a recent vacation, and walks over to a mirror and begins to introduce himself 3 times as William Kaplan. Okay, so Billy is here beginning his new life as William Kaplan. Let's talk about him settling in, but most importantly, let's discuss William's room. I'm just going to throw it out to anyone who wants to jump in first here. What posters did you catch? Do you think they meant anything, or did you catch anything in his room that you wanted to shout out?
I mean, there was 3 Houdini posters, which is cool. We're following this rule of 3 situation. I keep, you know, after Alyssa mentioned it on last week's podcast, now I can't stop looking for 3s.
Right, there's 3 Kaplans. There's 3,
yeah. And also there was a small like figurine set of the Wizard of Oz, which got me really excited because we've been seeing these references to Wizard of Oz. I know everything else as well, but that one I just thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Lily has gone out of her way to talk about like the misconceptions around witch culture. And I think William Kaplan was a fanboy of witch culture.
Oh, yeah.
And I think in some instances, she'd probably be pretty impressed with what he knows. And also like, like that's not real witch culture. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's that irony. And that might be part of the reason why William Kaplan was so much was a desired vessel for Billy. Maybe he already was tapping in to magic in some way that kind of left a signature, and you know, again, he found another witch's body to do that. Again, Billy is 10 at the point of when so who knows if he actually has that ability, but maybe that's just why William was selected, though. I don't know. It's kind of interesting and also very convenient that William would be into witchcraft and have like sort of a connection to it, and Billy is finding his place in this body and learning about who his mother was and what's happened to him and all of this stuff, and understanding her powers as a witch. So I feel like it's twofold. They could give justification to it outside of it just being super convenient, because obviously in 3 years he's done some research, like he knows what runes are and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, there's some stuff that's happened.
Yeah, he's got a whole like journal filled with stuff, right? But I like the mistakes that Billy makes in this episode in accidentally letting people around him know that he can read their minds. And it's funny because like when he says like maybe you're right, Mom, in reference to going up to his room, and it kind of reminds you that like this is still a little kid in this 13-year-old's body, which is interesting, and also the fact that like he's never really probably had to hide that before. Like when he was with his magical robot dad and witch mom and speedster brother, he probably never had to think like, oh, I probably shouldn't let them know that I can read their mind in this moment.
Sure.
And I don't know how much we really got from him reading minds in WandaVision, but
He
it
hinted
just sort
at
of,
it. He hinted at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 6 of WandaVision. That was
Oh,
an important
really?
episode. The Halloween episode when he can hear Vision.
Yes.
He can read everybody's
he was
mind
able
in
to-
that moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah,
He went like,
there were
Mom,
signs of
I think Dad's in trouble.
yeah.
Sydney, how many times have you watched WandaVision?
So many times. Like, it's ridiculous.
You don't even want to give a number.
I don't even know. Like, I just put it on when I want to watch something.
As many times as Agatha has maybe killed people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to count on my fingers,
Yeah.
and I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
You've watched your share of.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's good. That's good.
I wanted to shout out a few more posters and things I saw, but Sydney, was there anything in William's room that you wanted to jump in on?
I love the Wizard of Oz stuff. Like, that was everything. And then I'm thinking about Deadpool and Wolverine when Deadpool mentions Wizard of Oz. Like, I don't know, multiverse. There's got to be something there, right? Right?
Yes. Well, I think Wizard of Oz is very much sort of a story that deals with that, right? And
Yes.
also the idea of like the mystery box element with Oz, right? And the great and
Right.
powerful. So I think there's a big significance to thematically what that story means to not just Wanda, but like to the MCU as a whole, why they do the kind of stories that they want to do, where they do have these sort of like ingrained theory-based processes and what's the bigger picture. But there's always a mystery and there's always that thing that's there. But yeah,
The man behind the
multiversal
curtain.
definitely feels exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Mephisto behind the
The-
curtain.
Oh,
Yeah.
You see? We went there.
You're still
we
on
went
that.
there.
You're still on that train. I wanted to shout out that the Houdini posters are actually significant in a few ways. I mean, obviously, Houdini is a magician. Houdini was Jewish. And so that's maybe why
That's cool.
William Kaplan was such a big fan of him, if he's into magic, but also a young Jewish boy. And then also, a magician uses sleight of hand, and clearly, Billy is using sleight of hand on the witches to kind of make them think that he doesn't know as much as he sort of lets on, and so there is sort of like a grand magic trick that he's performing. Bedknobs and Broomsticks is a poster that I saw as well, and we know that Hexen Benson was his idea last week's episode. There's a few more. I've got a bunch. The Goofballs is a poster that was on his wall that looks like the Goonies. Like, it's the Goonies poster. It just says the Goofballs.
Goofballs.
And
Maybe they couldn't use the name Goonies.
That's my thought. Like, I don't think they have the rights to the Goonies.
Was there an Alice in Wonderland poster as well?
There was.
There
I
was.
saw
Okay.
that.
In
Yeah.
fact, there were 3 posters above his bed.
There you go.
And they were Alice in Wonderland, which could be a reference to Alice Wu. The Black Cauldron, which could be Jen and her potion, making with a cauldron. And then the Wizard of Oz, which, I know we're talking about him potentially being the wizard, but I think this is a clear nod to Lilia, and I think we'll find that out in next week's episode even more so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I would have. Yeah, no, that's interesting though. The Alice in Wonderland. Even if you could go with obviously Alice, but I also think just even the notion of how upside down everything gets in Alice in Wonderland is very reminiscent of the world. Like the literal road, I would connect back to Wizard of Oz, but
they're going down a
just
big
that-
hole.
right? Exactly, but also just this idea of like within
It
the
plays
earth,
tricks
right?
on
Like
you, and it
inside,
changes,
it's
and-
and it feels like you're in an inverted, upside down world. To
Yeah.
reference, obviously, something like Stranger Things, but like, it's something that exists within the world rather
Yeah.
than. So I don't know. There might be something there in that sense to kind of
Or it's like on a different plane. And that's also kind of...
Sorry, that's exactly it. That would be it. Especially in the MCU terminology, plane is probably very accurate. Where we are is another plane of within the MCU.
How many more terminologies do we need in the MCU, Justin?
Well, it helps to understand what they're playing with, right? Like how it fits into the existing canon, if you will. Right?
Yeah, because you think about the different places where, like in Black Panther, they go to a different plane to see their loved ones and stuff.
Yeah, and Moon Knight was a whole other
Moon Knight
experience.
as well. Yeah. In Infinity War with the Soul Stone, you go to a different plane. So and they all kind of have this purple hue. I'm now concluding.
Yeah, they have a hue definitely to it, but I think it all does root back to what you pointed out there, the soul.
Yeah,
it's a journey of the soul in a lot of ways, where they're these planes that they're tapping into. So I think that's why it's very, it feels very cosmic and mystical.
Yeah.
In some qualities, because of just the spiritual nature of the soul being on a journey. Because I would imagine if you could maybe look at this Witch's Road as a journey for the soul.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
just because I'm not going to take the time to get into it later on, I do just want to shout out some of the stuff that's in Billy's, let's call it Billy's room at that point, right? And so there's a poster for Saw. Shout out to Saw, and Megan, I'm sure you've never seen a Saw movie.
Never.
But they feature timed trials of their own.
Okay.
And it tests willing or unwilling participants.
And you do die if you do not complete the trial.
That makes sense.
Definitely die. There's also Jennifer's body poster. Shout out to Jennifer's body, which in a way
multi-layered,
but it's connected because something's inhabiting, like a demon. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a demon inhabiting her body in that movie, and so maybe Billy sort of gets some semblance of, I don't know,
comfort.
Comfort.
I think it's also a deep cut cult classic, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that don't like that movie for just it not being a good movie, but there's a lot of people that love that movie for its nostalgia and for the type of movie it is, like sort of a femme fatale sort of slasher pick, and you got that genre mashup within the horror genre. It's pretty iconic for being a big horror cult film. I think that's more of a reason. It's like that's his taste in movies, and it kind of says something about him as someone who enjoys horror. Like, to see something like Saw and then to see something like Jennifer's Body is interesting. And
it also kind of makes sense for the way the trials have been. That we kind of came to terms with the fact that this whole Witch's Road is Billy's challenge and trial. And each house and each trial has featured some version of where, a circumstance that a horror movie could be set in. So maybe that's also what the road is doing. It's playing to what he likes and the things he enjoys.
Yeah, especially last week's episode. We were talking about how that's going to be the cabin in the woods thing, right? But then we got Exorcist, we got a whole bunch of 80s, 90s. That house was like a genre house.
Yeah.
Right? It had everything in it that was very reminiscent of a specific time period, as well as the horror genre within those time periods. So it served to be kind of more than just sort of a moment in a specific style, but a moment in time, specifically, and with the horror elements all at play. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, my eyes darted to those board games, and I was trying to be like, okay, where are the board games we saw in the previous episode? I think, you ultimately have to wonder if all this stuff means that Billy, kind of focusing on the things that, sure, he's interested in, but also a lot of Williams fandoms, kind of making them his own, and then continuing that passion for that stuff maybe fueled him even more, and then is what's, not just crafting what he loves, but also this entire show, right? He's the first person to enter the road. Right? He's the first person to find the clue at each trial. Whether he knows it or not, I think he's been preparing for this trial since getting home from the hospital that day. And I really think that this has been his trial all along, like you said, like we've been talking about. And I've got another thought on this, but I'm going to save it for our predictions. For now, I will just say awesome to see that Billy is an ally. We see a Trans Lives Matter, poster or I guess flag. And then we also shout out to impeccable music taste. I'm sorry, but Evanescence Fallen album, come on, so good. And like obviously
describes his
gothness,
his wardrobe,
right? His wardrobe, right? Yeah. But also like maybe because it's like how he's fallen from his previous life into the I don't know. I'm reaching now.
Yeah, you're reaching.
Cool. Okay. We then cut to 3 years later as we see William and Eddie after a date sitting in Eddie's car outside William's house. Eddie asks about the sigil, and William says it's impossible to solve. Eddie leans in and the two begin to make out. While making out, William hears Eddie's thoughts and his intentions to tell him he loves him. This freaks him out, and he tries to tell him about his powers, kind of does, and he explains how he died the night of the car accident, and how he's not William Kaplan, at least not entirely. And he tells him he loves him too, which Eddie reacts accordingly, and the two embrace again. Eddie asks, if you're not William Kaplan, who are you? In a very dramatic, like, sort of zoom-in thing. Up in William's room, William explains that the night of the crash, that's the same night the anomaly in Westview collapsed. He shows Eddie the runes in the sky and explains that it's witchcraft and that he's been in touch with a guy who's willing to talk about it on Reddit. So before we keep going here and get to that, did anyone else catch Eddie calling out aliens in relation to the Hex? And could that be foreshadowing who Eddie really is? Or is that just like another Mephisto train and I'm looking too deep into this? What do we think? I'm going to throw it to the group if anyone has anything.
Like, are you trying to say that Eddie's a Skrull?
This is because Darcy brought this up last week.
Darcy brought it up last week, right? Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
So maybe... I don't know if I really want to get distracted by that because that show really did not do well for Skrulls. Like, I'm glad that they're around, but like, I don't know. I don't know if Eddie is going to be the one to save the Skrulls. But that said, I also think that there's a lot of, it goes to show how there's misinformation and cover-ups that are going on within the MCU to mask and hide. I think at one point, didn't he refer to the Hex as being something in relation to like a
wasn't
testing,
it like an Avengers
testing
thing?
That went wrong, and it's like that seems like something that they would say to kind of soften what was going on there, and then probably buy out the town and just make sure that no one ever speaks of it because it seems like everyone's on a zip there in Westview. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting. I thought the same thing, but then I'm like, I don't really know if I want to like think about that. Like,
sure.
And if he's really, I don't know, if he's really meant to be anything more than just a partner for William or Billy at this point. I like that he has someone to kind of share this with as he's on this new journey.
Yeah. But if we get some confirmation that he's not Teddy Altman, but he's Eddie Altman, who eventually becomes, spoilers for the comics, Eddie Kaplan Altman. I wonder if, I don't know, I just feel like Marvel, they like to kind of like put these little things in and whatever, and maybe we get it to the point where it's like it might be this actor in the role of Hulkling.
Do you think that's going to happen in this show though?
No.
Okay, so it's not going to happen in this show. Eventually, right? So maybe eventually, right? In relation to this show, I don't think it matters. It might be like a long shot sort of hint at maybe something. Maybe they're going to leave the door open for that. But at this point, I don't think that it's a top concern for this show to give us that.
All right. Okay. Sydney, am I jumping on the Mephisto train too much here? You think,
a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I'll get off my Hulkling train then. Let's get on to another train, and I won't name it, but William and Boyf make it to a nearby parking garage, and they meet none other Then Bonerific 69. That's right, Ralph Boner. He frantically checks William for a wire and then explains what happened in WandaVision and how it was like watching yourself on TV inside your own head. Just the perfect description. William asks him if he can do stuff he couldn't before. And he's like, what the heck are you talking about? And then he asks him about Agatha Harkness. He reads his mind. He's like, don't ask about Agatha Harkness. He asks about Agatha Harkness. And then Ralph sprays them with witch repellent. It was very rich witch repellent. And then he charges them extra and explains what Agatha did to him, how she made him her husband, how she made him hold a lovely woman hostage in his room, how she ruined the resale on his house, how she made him poison a dog, and how she made him a terrible influence on Wanda and Vision's kids, Billy and Tommy. He explains that Wanda's dead, Sword used Vision for parts, and the twins just disappeared. He tells them not to go sniffing around her in Westview, and then invites them with half-off tickets to his one-man show in Paramus. So good that he's still acting. Good for him. Let's talk about, and I really didn't think I'd say this again after WandaVision, let's talk about the boner in the room. Ralph Boner is back. I can't believe how many times I keep saying boner. Sydney, as one of our biggest WandaVision fans on the show, what did you think of the return of Evan Peters to the MCU?
I was so excited. Like, I've been waiting 3 years for this. I knew it wasn't just going to be a little throwaway thing. Like, you can't bring back Evan Peters and not use him again. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, I've actually been waiting 3 years to see him again. I was so excited when he turned around. That was everything.
Yeah, I know a lot of people thought it was going to be Mephisto.
Well, the curly hair is giving Sacha Baron Cohen.
The shoulders, maybe, but like the thing is that the other thing too is like I saw. I know when Nate and I, you and I were talking about the mid trailer, mid-season trailer, and you had said, oh, you see how everyone's thinking it's Mephisto, and I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be Quicksilver, and I meant Evan Peters. Like, I thought he was going to be coming back because I had seen a tweet that said like he's going to be in the next episode, and then there was this shot and everyone was talking about it, and sure enough, they were right. Like, I don't know where these people get their sources, but who does he know? And I think it was My Sunshine and Daniel RPK. Like they're pretty big like Twitter accounts that seem to reveal.
They've made a
stuff.
pact with Mephisto. Clearly,
I guess so. They must know someone.
To get past Kevin Feige, come on.
But it does make sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of this story, and where we see, William on this journey of needing to get information about what happened in that hex. Of course, it was going to be like as soon as he said, "I met someone on Reddit," I was like, "Oh, it's going to."
Oh, it's got to be him.
This is going to be him.
Bonerific
Right? Totally
69.
Perfect.
Yeah, Bonerific. It's perfect. It's perfect. He's embracing the name.
Yeah.
The shirt that we're going to see later is also a full embracing of the name.
We'll talk about that shirt. We'll talk about that shirt. But I wanted to also mention, like, Bonerific 69 is fantastic. Billy being craft crazy 17, immediately I'm like, oh, he's into arts or William was into arts and crafts. Maybe he adopted the name, or Billy's into arts and crafts. Movie. He's into craft. The movie and also witchcraft and yeah. I loved seeing Evan Peters show up again. It looked like he was having the time of his life coming back to Boner, and like to be like this like super crazy, like of course it messed up his mind. Like how are not all the people in Westview just as messed up? And if you think about it, it's like Wanda did something terrible. Agatha did something, I guess, way worse. Because this poor guy.
Well, it's just one person.
It's just off, yeah.
And she probably had like a lot of manipulation in there. Yeah. But I also really love that Evan Peters wants to do this, right? Yeah. Like he's really all about subverting that. It's just continuing with what we saw, right? And he's just like, I'm going to go even further with this character. You thought it was just, like Sid said, like it's not just a one-off character that's just there for a gag to make you think one thing and then it's this. No, he had some more importance and relevance, and good on the writers to think of the Boner Man himself to bring in for this character, because it totally makes sense. It could have been a neighbor, it could have been anyone, right? Like could have been the beekeeper who we don't even know whatever happened to, but who knows. So but I thought that was cool. It's really cool.
It made the most sense that it was him, because everybody else later on, or I guess in the first couple episodes of this show, said like, we don't talk about Wanda, we don't talk about anything. And then, like you said, Justin, when we hear that Billy's been talking to somebody on Reddit who is willing to talk about Wanda. Oh, it's got to be the boner man.
He'll make a quick cash grab off that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Half off ticket prices.
Yeah, exactly.
That needs to be the post-credit scene, by the way. I need that. Of Billy going.
Oh, that would be awesome.
show.
I never saw him
Yes.
handing over money, by the way. So I think some tickets are coming his way. That's my prediction.
So it leads up
I
to this
need
thing
this.
that we think is going to be like, it's Vision. Oh no, it's Vision and Tommy. Oh my gosh. And then it's just
It's
the
him.
boner
Evan
man.
Peters on stage, one-man show. Yeah.
That's
I
maybe
I'm
almost
into it.
want
I
that
need
to
it.
happen now.
My
Like,
favorite
I really
prediction.
want that to happen, just to
Yeah.
really mess with fans and give it. It's really subvert, and it's just like, here's a little taste of his one-man show. Like,
And
I
put
know.
some kind of Easter egg in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something.
Now I know he was under control from Agatha, but technically, when she says the famous line, "And I killed Sparky too," or whatever she says, so it wasn't her.
Well,
I
technically
guess.
she did because it was him under her influence.
Oh, okay, all right, that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
he said it was like I was watching myself in
He
a
couldn't
movie in my
control
head
it.
and I couldn't
exactly.
do anything.
He couldn't control it.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Debunked.
thank you. Pusher.
Immediately.
That was the most shocking thing. Definitely the most shocking
Oh,
thing.
that poor
Sparky.
Dog.
hearing Vision and Sword being mentioned just got me stoked for what's next. I'm really
yeah.
excited for Vision Quest now. And also a huge shout out to Ralph's Blu-ray collection. I hope he gets it back someday. Back in William's room, we see him studying what he's learned. He looks at a sketch of the sigil that he drew on a piece of paper on his wall. He circles Agatha Harkness in Westview, and then after a quick round of Google searching, we learn that Agatha was not just a witch in Salem. She was also Dolly Parton's Jolene, a survivor of the Titanic, a survivor of a Zeppelin crash, and a survivor of the Witch's Road. He tunes into the lyrics of Lorna's version of the ballad. Reminds me of Taylor's version. And as the music swells, he also reads that at the end of the road, a witch may find what's missing, and the only name showing missing in that moment is his brother, Tommy. He grabs his keys and drives off towards Westview. So we see Billy's true intentions here are to find Tommy and not Wanda. Again, on this podcast, at least, I think we've all been fairly
That's debunked.
Wanda-brained.
That's
yeah.
an immediate debunk. This is one of those things that I was talking about at the top, where it's
Yeah.
like it debunked it, and it makes so much more sense that he would be looking for his brother than his mother,
yeah.
right? Especially given the events of what's going on. I think in those moments when he comes to life and he says, "Tommy," now realizing that he needs to find Tommy, I think that it's so nice to kind of give Billy a sense of purpose outside of just wanting his mom back and his family, but the other half of him, the other half of his identity in a lot of ways is what I see that as. So, as obvious as it is and as silly as it is, I think we all just want, Wanda back, right? And
We want a little redemption for her.
yeah, of course, right? Because
Totally.
especially after Multiverse of Madness, I don't know if that was the best. That's not the best handling of that character, especially after all the work that WandaVision did to make her matter. And now, without her even in the MCU, she is the most talked about MCU character. So she's coming back.
Yeah.
I just
Jack
don't think it's
Schaefer
gonna be in
said,
the
"Hold
show."
my beer," and then got on a Hexenbenz and just flew this series right into our hearts. I think it's we had so much Wanda on the brain, but yeah, Tommy makes sense. They're twins. They were created in the same weird way at the same weird time. Megan, your partner is a twin. Is that how twin powers work? They can sense each other?
I think so, yeah. They definitely have some form of telepathy in a way, like
Sure. Sure.
Their feelings are connected to each other. If one is hurt, the other one like senses
Knows
something
it.
is
Wow.
wrong, kind of a thing.
Stops and looks up.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of real. I'm not lying.
No, I know.
I believe
Yeah,
you.
I don't doubt that actually exists. I think also even just the fact that they were made of magic, right? Like they're made of the same magic, and I think that is intrinsically tied to one another beyond just anything outside of them being brothers, because they're not really physical, right? It's not until this is actually the most physical, I guess, Billy's ever been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To
Technically.
a certain degree.
So given this news, and we're going to talk later about the Tommy of it all, but because we've already kind of, Meg and Justin, we've all sort of, in some fashion or another, talked about whether or not we think we'd see Wanda in this series specifically. I wanted to quickly ask Sydney before we move on. Sydney, the Scarlet Witch, and I'm not talking about you, I mean the Scarlet Witch, is she coming back at the end of this series? Is Elizabeth Olsen in the show?
I really hope so. Like, I just want to see her again in some form. I don't know how they would do it, but for me personally, I hope they do it just for me because I need to see her again. I miss her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
I wonder if it's going to be a hint. Like they're
I
pretty
could see
adamant
that
about
too.
her not being in this show, but I wonder if they hint at she's around.
She's around.
And that-
She's somewhere.
Like, she's
Just
somewhere.
don't do the like back camera. We see the bottom of a hand with black fingers or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
No. I think something is going to incite that, whether it be, I don't know. Again, there's just so many ways that they're doing it, and I don't necessarily want to overpredict, but I just think that if we are going to get Wanda, not Elizabeth Olsen, but Wanda, it's going to be something that can insinuate that she can come back. And there's something that might be the next chapter or journey for maybe Billy and Tommy. I don't know. Are we going to get Tommy at the end of this? That's the big question, really, at the end of the day now. Are we going to get a new Tommy? And does that kind of play into other things with the Vision show that they're saying?
well, the only other thing I wanted to quickly just mention, we don't usually like to just go back to things, but something just popped in my mind because we were talking about end credit scenes, and we had that moment, which obviously was meant to lead into Monica Rambeau's connection to what was going to be happening in Miss Marvel or Captain or which one was
Captain
The
Marvel.
Marvels. There
The
we
Marvels.
go.
Yeah.
Listen, Joe Locke made the same mistake in our interview. So, in the Marvels, I mean, maybe there is some semblance of ties to Skrulls in some way because of that. I just wanted to go back to that and say that I'm still probably right. Let's keep going here.
You really just brought that up for that?
This brings us back to where we meet Teen in episode 1 of this show. Billy parks outside Agatha's house and reads from his... He glances over and there's the empty, like, dead house, dead plot land of Wanda's poor house. But then he reads from his journal that he needs an important personal item to cast a release spell. Eddie messages him about how crazy it was last night. How crazy it was last night. And then we see the events of the episode play out, but this time from Billy's perspective and not from Agatha's perspective. And we see how he doesn't actually get hit by a car. Agatha interrogates him in her house and not actually at a police station, and how he drops Agatha's locket as she shoves him back in the closet. So, Sydney, what did you think about seeing these events from his perspective?
I thought it was awesome. I've been waiting since that first episode to see what was actually going on. I thought it was hilarious. Like the cardboard holster for the gun and like, are you kidding me? Like, that was hilarious. The thought of Agatha under the spell, like creating all these things and setting her furniture up to look like this is so funny to me. I love when episodes do that, where they cut back to what we've already seen and show us the different perspective. Like, I just love it.
Yeah, totally.
Again, I think this scene is probably the reason that I love this episode so much, because the first initial reaction for me of what I realized was about to happen was when Billy was walking by the house and you just kind of see a sliver and you see only Agatha. You don't see Rio.
Ooh.
And she's holding mugs, not beer. I was like, wait a minute. They were drinking beer the last time. So then I was like, oh, okay, this is her under the spell. Something's going to be different. I'm intrigued by why Rio wasn't shown. But then to watch that whole scene pan out, and she's like, her accent's worse because it's obviously in her head. And then also the garden hose as a gun was really funny. This also references back to when she says she's going to get in the car and she ends up in this like pretend car.
Cardboard
She's
car.
probably driven that car around, and it makes me think of like, you know, back in WandaVision when she's in a car at the edge of the Hex, and she's like laughing and crying at Wanda while she's sitting in the car. Maybe that also is some kind of reference back to that.
Right.
It was just a brilliant
Or just
scene.
the idea that like the beginning of this series that started off so damn cool. Like she's the coolest like detective woman.
She wasn't that cool.
Right? She
No.
wasn't.
She
She
was-
was
no.
sitting in probably in her
She had a
underpants or
hose.
something.
She had a hose head for a gun. It was awesome. And like honestly, like this is where, you know, in your interview with Joe Locke, he does mention that episode 6 he got to do a little improv,
A comedic
So I'm-
improv.
Incredible
a comedic
job.
improv, and I'm thinking it's definitely this scene, these moments. I think that's the only way, because it didn't feel very scripted. There felt like a couple lines there,
Yeah.
but I think the reaction time and so on and so forth felt very improv.
I
But
think
yeah,
come on, I do not want to go back in the closet. That's what I'm gonna in my head.
So
canon,
funny.
That was the improv
So
that
good.
Joe Locke was super proud
maybe
of.
I feel like that's a really well written line, though. I think that's a really well written
yeah.
line.
he's a great writer. You know?
There was also a really hilarious moment where Agatha's leaning over top of Joe Locke and they're repeating the same lines back and forth.
Exactly.
He is this close to laughing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
and that's
so
where
close.
I think that's where the improv came in, the whole pen situation too. I think that was very
That's not gonna work.
improv,
That'll
right? I think that's it's off. Okay, now it's on. That'll work for you. Okay, you just do you, right? Like it was just, you know,
So
I think they just wanted to treat that as very organic. But yeah, the whole scene plays out like sort of like you know, Agatha being a sort of a drunk or on drugs, and she's kind of the way we saw it is how she saw it, and now we're seeing it outside of that sort of potion and that sort of intoxication that she's in, and she looks like a crazy person. But yeah, I think even in the first episode, it was sort of revealed that the events were happening in her kitchen or in her dining room when he's like, you're just looking at, you know, a painting, right? And then we see the painting, and then the scene starts to strip, and then she moves into this, which I'm not even sure now if it was how real it was. It might have been something, because Rio was there. She was the only one that was there. Joe Locke started this you know, release spell, and then she ended up in the morgue, and Rio was there to help sort of push her along the way, and that's where we start seeing her peel herself out of these different eras of television, Agathas, if you will, to her, you know, naked Jesus form. So you know, it was I think there's something to be said about why if like I obviously people are interacting with Rio, but could she be seen? I guess maybe she could be seen on. This is why
On the
you
road,
guys.
she can be seen.
On
I think.
on the road, she could be seen. But like, why? To your Meg's point, like, why didn't Agatha? Why didn't we see her talking? Why didn't we see Agatha talking to her? Why were they so, you know, contrived with the way they set it up so that it looked like she was talking to nobody? And also, like, I was looking back at episode 1. I'm like, maybe. I guess Billy or Teen had seen her in real life, but she shuts the door when she comes in to attack him. So maybe there's something, because maybe then that's why she sort of arrives in the road. So it's a very I'm piecing this thought together, so I apologize to our listeners and to my fellow partners here, but I'm trying to figure out how it all connects, because there's something that makes me feel like Agatha's the only one that can see her in the real world.
In the real world. But I think on the
yes.
road, she very much can. But to your point, maybe that's how Rio was able to get to the road, because
that's what I mean.
She's
That's
in
what I'm
Agatha's
saying, yeah.
mind or what have you. Yeah.
Or
Okay,
because
okay.
she's a spirit, because she's death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause she might be
That's
death,
a really
right?
interesting thing that you say, because we've been referencing the comics, the Scarlet Witch comics, where Agatha is a ghost and she's like guiding Wanda through the Witch's Road and through all these things. So it's almost like Rio is that for Agatha in this circumstance.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the boner on the shirt. So Ralph Boner's old family reunion shirt, which is just great, because Agatha would have just found that shirt
I want one.
lying around the house, right? And it says pitch a tent. And, you know, if you look from far away, on a an image of a tent that's like poorly designed by someone probably in like MS Paint or something. It looks like little moths or maybe like little bugs or whatever. But if you zoom in, which I did, those are actually little M's, which is awesome to notice. So there's a bunch of little M's, and I love how the art design, like the design department on this show and the costume department on this show, they're doing so much. It's all about the details. I love it. And then I want to call out the fact that Billy is truly meant to go on this journey. In the car, before he sneaks into Agatha's home, he gets a text from Eddie, where Eddie refers to him as his black heart emoji. Yeah. And in the episode 2, we saw Lilia realizing, whether she realized it or not, she put a black heart on that paper, and because of the sigil, she can't say Billy Maximoff. So she had to draw the heart.
Yeah.
So she foresaw what was going to happen, but in that moment couldn't write down his name, so she wrote down a black heart.
And I think Agatha thought of Blackheart as, because we did hear Rio say, I have a heart, and it's black,
or Mrs. Hart, like we all were like, oh, it's because Mrs. Hart.
No, but Mrs. Hart, Mrs. Hart was meant to be a fill-in.
Sure.
She didn't want to get Rio. She didn't want Rio.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, we need another one. Okay, Hart. She went over and grabbed Mrs. Hart, right?
Right.
Who kept correcting her. My name is Sharon Bates.
Yeah.
Right. So she again, just the recollection. She's creating that association, and I think because her reaction when she saw the black heart, remember she crumpled it up, she ate it because she didn't want anyone to see what it was. She knew that it was going to be, she thought it was going to be Rio, but I think you're absolutely right. When they lingered on that black heart in that text message, I was like, oh, is he the black heart, right? And that actually...
He's also got like a little earring. I think that's a black heart, right? Isn't his little earring a little black heart?
I think it's a triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, triangle has 3 sides, so there you go.
3. There you go.
Very cool. Okay, anything else before we move on from the boner shirt?
Oh, just like the presentation of him saying Billy Maximoff was amazing. That happens in this moment, does it not?
Yes.
Yeah, when she's like, what's your name? And then he says William Kaplan. And then it's almost like, we talk about it later where she says, I had a feeling. She asked him again, and he says his real name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah,
that was pretty dope.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Well, and again, we were seeing it from his side, right? Because he could hear himself saying it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And not only that, I think it's the idea too that the sigil works no matter which name he uses, William or Billy.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just not allowed to know his identity at all.
Exactly. He's protected. His identity is protected. So I think that's the other aspect that's really important to know about it, is that it wasn't just about William, or she protected both lines that were that she saw in his hand. Right.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Cool. Okay. Well, in the final scene, we watch as Agatha struggles to pull herself out of the mud and back onto the witch's road. She wipes the mud and the leaves from her face, and then we see Billy crush the sigil, destroying it completely. Agatha congratulates him on his debut and mocks him. He tells her that that power doesn't interest him, but she doesn't believe him. She says she had a feeling she knew who he was from the day they met, and that both he and his mother have the same tell. And then references his powers and kind of does like she mocks sort of the power blast thing that he did in last week's episode. And she says, "It's nice to see you again, Billy." And I was like, oh man. And then he says, Billy, William, and is taken aback at how Agatha can hear him now. She says, every witch with a beating heart can hear you now. She shares her murder count, and Billy says, I'm not like you. Agatha asks about the fresh body he's wearing, and she tells him to never feel guilty about his talent. She says, you broke the rules, big deal, and explains that that's what kept him alive. That's what makes him special, and that's what makes him a witch. He says he doesn't need her anymore, and he attempts to demonstrate his powers, but can't. Agatha asks him what Billy Maximoff truly wants at the end of the road. Is it to find Mama or Robo Papa? Before realizing, oh, right, there's two of you. And says he's after Toby, to which he corrects her and says Tommy. And he tells her he does not trust her at all, ever. And she laughs quietly and says, let's go find the next trial. And she says, last one there is a nice person. And then the episode ends as Billy quietly says, I'm not that nice. He pops his hood up and begins to follow her down the witch's road. Okay, so what a way to end, kind of still in the same place that we were last week, but with Agatha now fully aware of what Billy wants of what Billy wants. How do you think this changes Agatha's strategy moving forward? And what do you predict will happen on this series next? Sydney, we'll start with you. I want to know which, please tell me the future. It'll work. It won't work. It will work. It won't work. You're
There we
good.
go. Sorry, had a Agatha moment there. I am so excited to see what happens next. Like, that whole ending scene just gave me chills. It reminded me of the episode right before. Just finding everything out blew my mind. Like, I was so happy with everything, like I said before. And yeah, just the references to Wanda and Vision were like making my WandaVision heart so happy. Like, I need to know what happens next, but I know to like temper my expectations. I learned that from WandaVision. Like, we can go crazy with the theories, but it's interesting to think of what will happen just within this story, and then how they tee it up for what comes next with Tommy and everything.
Yeah. Do you think that we see, we talked about seeing Wanda at the end of the series. What are your thoughts? Is Tommy in the show?
I like to think so. I really want to see him. I miss him. I love both the little boys. Like, just the thought of these little boys in these new characters is so exciting. Because I just love them. I love this little family. Like, I want them to be reunited so bad.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I think there's an opportunity to see that. It's just when do we get there? You know what I mean? Like, how do all the pieces fit so that we can get that, I believe it was episode 9 where we get that like Incredibles shot of them by the fountain as a family, right? And like they're so new. So to see that years later, a new Vision, a resurrected Wanda, and like 2 new superpower boys, like, it'll be pretty cool. I think we're working towards that. But I think the main thing to think about too is it's not how fast we can get there. It's like it's the story and maybe the slow pace that we will. I think, if I were to kind of jump in with some theories here in regards, which please.
But also, which please? I want to go fast. Okay, it's all about
Me
a speedster. Okay.
Sure. I do want to go fast. I want to get to Tommy. I think Tommy makes the most sense to be revealed at the end of this. And whether it's physical or he can see him and he knows that he's out there and has a track for it. And then maybe Vision picks up with that, because there is rumors that, much like how Agatha show casted Billy Maximoff, that the Vision show will be casting a Tommy, a speedster, if you will. Right. So there are those rumors that are already out there. So it is very likely that that's where we're going to see him kind of show up and have more of a relevance. But it would be nice to get that confirmation as well as Wanda. Like, again, I don't think we're going to see Elizabeth Olsen. If we do, I will be flabbergasted. But I feel like, again, to what Sid was saying, to kind of temper expectations, to think what would be plausible in this moment is to more hint at the resurrection or the return of Wanda, rather than giving us the return of Wanda. And I think that's really it. In the way that this is all played out, the one thing that's very interesting is, because I think I'm imagining that we were kind of thinking that Billy was kind of in charge of this whole thing, this trial.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was, though. By the end of this, I think like he sought out Agatha because Agatha knew about the road and he needed to get to the road, right? Like, he was doing that research and they point out, like, she's the only one to survive the road. He's hearing about the road. He understands that he what he's missing. He puts all the pieces together to say that Agatha's the key to get to that. Does he remember her, though? Right? And what he caused to his family. Is that what that outburst was? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like he actually is in control of his powers. Like, that crown's now gone. So what, did it just magically appear momentarily?
Well, for the badass musical moment, obviously.
Of course. But
I think
like,
Billie
you know,
Eilish probably put it right on his head.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Billy.
He was there. So obviously he can't control his powers, and, you know, Agatha calls out. So I feel like he knew to go seek her out for his own selfish reasons. But you're right, Nate. Like, as we've been pointing out throughout this whole, you know, Watch Club, is he's always the one to discover the first to pull the clue that reveals what the trial is, right? So there is this odd connection. So it makes me wonder who's pulling the threads behind this trial.
Who's the
who is it
Wizard
really
of
for?
Oz?
Exactly. Who's the man behind the curtain, right? Is kind of it, or is it the woman behind the curtain? Is this a mad, you know, Rio, you know, trying to do something that's weaving something and knows about, you know, who Billy is and William Kaplan because of her association with death, and, you know, maybe she was taking an audit and being like, oh, this guy didn't show up. Oh, what is this?
That's interesting.
He's Billy Maximoff. No, that's me reaching.
No,
that's me.
but I mean,
I don't think so.
She mentioned she hates ghosts, and I think
And
for the
she's
same
collecting
reason,
bodies.
she might be upset that a soul
He
that was
cheated
meant
death?
to
like
soul
final
that was meant
final
to
destiny. So
go to
Sorry,
her
like that.
is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
maybe
actually a really interesting theory.
Yeah, I'm like I don't know how else it's all going to play out, but it looks like by the end of this they're in it together. And I think next episode, based on if it is the Wizard of Oz themed trial, I think it's going to be back to like form and like with some comedy chops and some fun moments. Like you're going to see.
I hope there's music, like a musical performance.
Well, it looks like it's not just Wizard of Oz, because there was a photo of I guess now we can say it, Billy Maximoff dressed as Maleficent in the scenes, right? So he's gonna be wearing like the
a
horns
leather
and stuff.
bound.
Yeah, right. So and it kind of fits because he's goth and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what that trial really is, because I think Wizard of Oz is an element to it. It might be like all of these fairy tale witches.
Maybe we'll see some Alice in Wonderland. Maybe
that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Like I'm wondering how it's all gonna play in. And the one thing that is immediately absent from it, though, is Rio. So who knows how she shows up? Because I think the finale next week, we will see Rio. That's my other theory, is that we won't see Rio next week. We will see her in the
week
two.
after. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think this episode just came at a perfect time, because we did have a bit of a structure, and then that structure broke when we found out who the teen was. Again, an expected reveal, I think, from pretty much everybody, but still epic as all hell.
Well, speaking of structure, which, please, Megan, if you just try to keep that
Sorry.
alive. No, you're
Sorry.
good.
It wasn't really a prediction. It was more just like understanding that this episode came at a really great time, because it broke the structure. It gave us Billy's perspective of what has happened up until this point. Next week, I believe, that we're going to get back, like, return to structure, Justin, like you said. We're going to get another trial. It's going to be another house. It's going to be a kooky or wispy house, maybe. And then our final 2 episodes will be the big bombastic ending, where our final reveal is, if we haven't had a Tommy cast yet, then maybe it's just him like speeding by, or it's just his like back silhouette or something.
Here's his voice. It could be something
his
like
voice
that.
Maybe, but we're definitely getting Tommy.
Yeah. I also just want to call out, like, I think Sid, you said it, this feels very much like episode 8 from WandaVision, that sort of reveal of everything that happens. And I think it's so refreshing to put that as your episode 6 in this story, as sort of a bottleneck to kind of, as you pointed out, Meg, to kind of break the formula so that we can get back. Because I know Nate and I were talking, I was like, how are you going to get from like an origin story back to the trial? And I'm not really sure exactly why he ended up putting them in the mud. Like, that's not really explained. He puts her in the mud and then he like pulls her out.
I got something.
Maybe,
I
but
got
like,
something,
yeah. Okay, all right. Which, please tell me why she was in that mud.
Which, please, let's talk about it. Agatha can't die. Agatha's made a deal with Rio. She can't die. It's not how it works. That'd be breaking the rules. Even in the first scene, the first episode, or second episode, no, first episode. I don't know when Rio attacks her. I think that's the first episode.
First episode.
And she's like, she's going off, and she's like, you wouldn't want it to be like this or whatever, or something like that. So I don't think she can die, but I also don't think that putting them in the mud would kill them regardless, because we've seen in the trailers that we are going to see Lilia and Jen again, or at least Lilia, I believe. But we do see them again, and so therefore, maybe he knows that that's not how they die. The Tower reversed tarot card continues to linger on my mind, because with it, significant change, kind of is a big thing. And I also wonder if that leads to Billy struggling with his morality, struggling with the ability to stay good. And I think he could kind of end up as a more morally gray character in at least this show by the end, like his mom did in WandaVision. I also mentioned earlier how I've been saying that, and we've been talking about the idea that this is Billy's trial, overall. And I also don't want to diminish the notion that these trials are so personal to the history and traumas of the various witches that are on the road with him. But I think it's a trial in a trial situation, where, yes, those trials are incredibly important for them, but he needs them to finish their trials so that he can finish his trial. And I know that he was upset about Alice dying because they had formed some semblance of a connection, as we saw in last week's episode. But I also think that Alice dying is him being so upset about it, also is him having a bit of fear that it's going to prevent him from getting his prize at the end of the road, which we now know is hopefully for him, Tommy. And so I think if that's true, you're like, well, then why did he kill Lilia and Jen when Lilia hasn't necessarily done her trial yet? Which is where I go back to saying I don't think he intentionally is killing them or murdering them.
He had a temper tantrum.
I think he had a temper tantrum. He said, go away. And he knew that he could put them there and that they would either come back or maybe, like Justin, you and I have been talking about on the phone, push them to the next trial. And maybe Agatha's just too stubborn that she's not willing to go the way that she's being told to go.
There was a very long ass route that allowed her to pull her way out of that. So yeah. Your theory is that, like, basically the whole thing is a trial for Billy, while each of the witches have their own trials along the way.
I think so.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if one of those trials though is going to be, we still haven't seen the clock room that we've seen a lot of in the trailers. Mm-hmm. It's like sort of a morgue body room.
I think that's the final test. Like, I think there's
a finality to it.
I think Agatha needs to help him through his final test in that room. And I think the other thing is that maybe this ends like The Wizard of Oz. I kind of don't want it to, because I kind of think it's a bit cheap, but I also could see them doing the thing where, like, he wakes up, Jen and Lilia and Alice all wake up in a field in Eastview, and he's like, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there too. Like, whatever, right? Like, maybe they go full Wizard of Oz with it, and they, like, kind of do a WandaVision
that's your way
thing
of
and make
saving
them,
everyone?
Maybe, right? Yeah, that's how they come back, and maybe Mrs. Hart is there, and everyone's okay, Justin. Everyone's safe and fine, and somehow Sparky's there, and Tommy's there, and Vision and Wanda are all there. But no, I
honestly think though that what you're seeing here is that, like, between Agatha and Teen or Billy, Billy needs the road, right, to serve a purpose for him. Selfishly, he's looking for his brother, and Agatha is also doing that herself. But she has a history with the road. She understands what that looks like, and that there's that combat, right? Like, Agatha knows that probably a lot of these people are going to die. They're not going to make it out of this alive. As long as she does and she reaches the end and gets what she wants, she's happy.
She doesn't care.
Teen isn't ready to sacrifice that. I think that shows the good that Billy has inside of him, that he still cares for these people. He doesn't want them to be dying for his need. Again, the remarks at the end here, I'm not that nice. Like, we'll see what that really translates to. But I feel like there's a sense of compassion and empathy that very much serves as a foil or a challenge to that of Agatha's, for Agatha to kind of see that, a parallel there. And maybe that's how they kind of start to connect. But, you were talking about the spaces really quickly. Just a shout out to New Rockstars, because I didn't even think about this, but each of the venues very much match the characters who are on trial.
For sure.
The first house was very like Boston, Massachusetts, like the sort of beach side of that lifestyle. And then obviously the second trial was very rock star 70s, like Alice's mom, right? Like very much of that vibe. And if you look at the cabin that was in the third trial for Agatha, it could have, if you stripped everything away, it could have been a cabin that she lived in. Like that could have been her house.
Even the outside
right?
looks like a old ass witch's house.
Yeah,
and,
like a house built in Salem way back when. So
yeah.
I thought that was a really cool tidbit, and another way that, like as you guys were saying, from design and set, that they're able to connect those dots. And like even in last week's episode with all of the 80s and 90s draw everywhere, like the lights and everything, it's just like if you peel all that back, you have this old timey cabin that could have existed, that could have been Agatha's home, which is why I think she kind of had some familiarity about moving around in it, because she didn't seem to I guess it's also a very small space, but that said,
but I think it's
like
also
something there.
There's a lot of stuff that we saw in Teen's or William's room in these trials as well, and a lot of imagery and a lot of like little things. And so I'm, you have to almost wonder, it kind of reminds me of there's a movie called Annihilation, where like it's about this like scary like random place that has like a big force field that when you walk through it, it like combines your DNA with the DNA of like the forest around you, and Megan can never watch it. But in a sense, I'm wondering if the road is very much combining a lot of William, Billy, and their lives all together to create these moments. I do want to just kind of wrap up my Witch Please predictions by talking about a very special little rabbit, Senor Scratchy. Could that be where Tommy's soul has ended up? I mean, rabbits move really quickly, and maybe. Because we see Teen holding Senor Scratchy, and then we haven't seen him since. Like, could we get maybe a moment at the end of this where he wants his brother back, he gets him back, but it's kind of like a monkey's paw situation where it's like he gets him back, but it's a rabbit, and he's like super confused. Senor Scratchy coming back. Will Senor Scratchy will return? Is that what we're going with?
That would be hilarious as the end tagline. Like, that would actually be hilarious. I was thinking, like, why have we not seen this rabbit? I never would have thought Tommy, but that's an interesting thought for sure.
Well, there's just the only thing that can give that any clout is the fact that there is a shot, I think, in episode 2 where he picks up the rabbit and he's like, oh my God, like he's like really affectionate with it, right? And it's like, okay, maybe
his twin
I think
senses.
that's just his personality.
I just think that for sure. No, and I also think that Nate's just reaching really hard.
Yeah. If anything, if we're really gonna reach about the rabbit, his name is Scratchy,
right?
And her son's name is Nicholas Scratch.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can give you credit for that.
Yeah.
Maybe Tommy's Greg. Tommy is Greg, confirmed. There we go.
Sure.
Interesting.
That's what it is. Greg the dog. All right, well, that is it for this week. Before I dig myself too far into the theory mud here, that is it for this week's Watch Club for Agatha All Along. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. Before we go, Sydney, thank you so much for joining us on the road this week. If our spookiest listeners would like to learn more about how maybe you were a Titanic survivor, how would they keep up with you?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to talk about the Titanic reference there too. Titanic's my favorite movie ever. Like, I died when I saw that. But yeah, you can actually find me. Last night, I need to brag a little, but Marvel Studios retweeted my tweet about Agatha, and I didn't even tag them, nothing. They just saw me fangirling. So that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, all over Agents of Fandom. I'm always in the chat talking to Agatha all along as well, week by week, which has been super fun. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yes. So check out Agents of Fandom, and also check out. We'll link your Twitter. I guess is probably the best place for people to see your takes. Maybe if you want your Instagram or what have you. And we will we'll make sure people check out all the wonderful things you have to say about geek culture, and of course, forever about Wanda. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or your predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, let me just cash app Justin, so he can let you know what spell you can cast to reach us.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Instagram at wearegeekcentric, or on Twitter or X at GeekcentricYT.
No, we don't need to do it. We don't need to give in. We talked about this on our shrinking review. We've all gotten to a better place, and we're all just going to call it Twitter from now on.
It's Twitter.
It's just Twitter.
Yes.
Don't let them win. Okay, we'll be back next week with another spooky guest for episode 7. But in the meantime, you can also chat with us on our Discord spoilers channel, where you can drop all your witchy theories. Join us using the link in our description. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for The Wild Robot, Transformers 1, Marvel Television's Agatha All Along, HBO's The Penguin, Only Murders in the Building Season 4, episodes 1 to 7, and a bunch of other fantastic shows. We also have our D23 episode out, where we discuss our experience at the Ultimate Fan event, where we actually saw Agatha and her coven perform live on stage, and that was just such a freaking cool surprise. Plus, we have a ton of interviews from over the summer, but the one that you might care to check out most, and we already referenced it a few times in this episode, are our interviews with Agatha herself, Catherine Hahn, as well as Joe Locke, who plays Billy Maximoff, and showrunner, director, and executive producer Jack Schaefer. We talked about the music in this series, how it stays fresh while maintaining the tone of WandaVision, and we asked Catherine and Joe who they'd want to see their characters team up with for a Marvel Broadway musical. And again, if you want to see what Joe Locke was referencing, in relation to something in this episode, check out that interview, because he does bring up the fact that he was personally proud of some line that he got to leave in. So catch those interviews here on your podcast service of choice, or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. And be sure to subscribe there so you can keep up with all the great stuff we got coming at you for the cozy, spooky geek fall. My lovely coven, Sydney, Megan, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this Witch Club. And as we say, follow me, my friend,
to glory at the end.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
beautiful.
That was so good.
Beautiful.